Okay, welcome everyone to our Team Plant Strong Monday Night Call. I'm Michelle Barnett. I'm a National Marketing Director with Juice Plus, and I'm so thankful for each of you guys for being a part of our team and for being on this call tonight. We are so excited about our special guest speaker, Heather Meadows. I met Heather in February. I was in my hometown attending a gala, and Heather was the keynote speaker, and her story just blew the roof off. Everyone was so captivated, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room. She was just magnetic. And so after her talk, I corralled her. I hunted her down, and I cornered her, and I was like, I just want to, you're just so, she was just so radiant. And I just wanted to know her and be connected to her, because people like Heather are people that not only impact your life, but it creates a ripple effect. And so her story is really powerful. I know you guys have powerful stories, and I want her story tonight to be shared to encourage you guys in your own journeys. We all have hard things. We all have life-limiting beliefs that keep us from the potential that God has called us to, and keep us from living and walking in truth. And so I'm just so grateful that Heather's here tonight. And I'm going to read her bio quickly to you guys, just so you know a little bit more about her. Heather grew up in rural Oklahoma on her family land. She married her high school sweetheart in 1999, and they welcomed 4 children into their lives over a decade. In 2012, Heather graduated from OU, which I went to OSU. She graduated from OU, University of Oklahoma, with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. She is honored to use her experiences of overcoming a life-threatening injury in her work as a neonatal nurse, writer, and speaker. Heather serves events, conferences, schools, businesses, banquets, and churches through inspirational and motivational speaking. And she recently released a memoir that's super powerful called Transforming Tragedy. One of you guys are going to get this. She and her husband, Brandon, are raising their children on the land she grew up in. And they have a black lab named Ruby Sue. How cute is that, you guys? So Heather, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to unmute you, and we just want to learn and soak up your wisdom tonight.
Oh, well, guys, thank you all so much for having me. So I listen, I'm just an authentic, transparent person, and I'm just shooting it real. I have never, ever done a video conference or presentation. So this is my very first. So I feel like you all are gracious people. I can see ball caps. I can see people walking around with their phones. And so I'm like, these are my kind of people. Y'all already have my Mickey pajama pants on. So I'm like, this is the best way to share a good word. I'm like, this may be the only way I start doing presentations now. Like, okay, let's just get online. So I am at home, and y'all never know when somebody's gonna walk through the door. Right now they're down fishing, but it's getting dark. So hopefully we'll have some time. So Michelle, just yes or no, we've got 30 minutes, or should we do like 25?
30.
She says 30. Okay, and then we'll do like a 5-minute question and answer, and you'll have to walk me through it because this is all new to me. So I'm gonna jump right in, and I always use a PowerPoint because I'm such a visual person. That's always what I do when I share. So y'all bear with me. Michelle kind of like walked me through this a little bit earlier. So I'm going to hop onto that and show you all, just kind of walk through it with you. So anyway, so this is like ways to connect with us on social media, because we know like we're living in a social world. I am very much a people person. Like I want to touch you and hug you, but listen, we have limitations, but social media works great to connect. So we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as well. And then also I always show our sponsors, because these are the people that got behind us before I was even able to launch my book. They really are the backbone of what I've been able to do. So they're on every blog post that we share. They're on our website. And listen, Texas people and people all over the country can buy insurance from people in Oklahoma, right? Mm-hmm. And Byler Media is, he's a Missouri guy, and he did all of our website stuff. So these are just fabulous, fabulous people. Anyway, so what we were talking about today. So do you all see, let's see, I think if I go to, I don't know. Do y'all see my buttons with me? Oh yeah. So there's no animation, is there? I don't know how to do that.
If you put it in full
Oh,
screen.
there we go. Does that work?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. See, gracious. That's what I'm talking about. And when I got to meet Michelle, I have to say, like, I hardly had a voice. I show up to speak at this gala and I had laryngitis. And so I'm telling the event coordinator, I'm like, don't worry, it will come back. And so at least tonight I have a voice. I'm just challenged technology wise. But anyway, so tonight we are talking about maintaining our mindset, and I'm for sure going to get in and tell you all a little bit about my story. But everybody, every single person has to deal with challenges for our mindset. And so I just want to, I'm like a bullet point person, and I had these up on there, but really maintaining our mindset comes down to what we listen to. I say this to my kids. I'm like, it doesn't matter if, you know, you're like 15 or you're 40, like what you listen to will influence how you go about your day. And so, yeah, what we listen to and what we read, if we're feeding ourselves an encouraging word, if we're feeding ourselves something that challenges us, that's going to come out in the way we live. But if we're, you know, if we're reading things, and my daughter loves like fantasy fiction, you know, dragons and things like that. She's 18, but she's like, I still love that kind of stuff, the Aragon series. And it's great, but like if we're reading things that sharpen us and motivate us, things that we can do life application, that's for sure going to come out in the way we think and the way we approach situations, what we repeat. So what we say about ourselves. And I write a lot about that in my book. And as you all are going to find out through a little bit of time together, it is so important, the words that we repeat about ourselves and about those around us. Like, and then who we walk with. So it's basically like who you rub shoulders with. And that really kind of goes along with what we repeat, because I mean, like all of us know, like if you're hanging around people who are constantly griping about their husbands, I don't care how fabulous your marriage is, like eventually you're going to start griping about your husband, you know? So like who we walk with really does influence our mindset and how we think. And so, and what we say. So it's like all connected. So anyway, so I want to, now can you all see me too, or do you just see the PowerPoint? You see both? Y'all are so fabulous. This is super fun. Well, anyway, so if I have tears, that means that y'all are going to see me, but we're connecting here. This is live. So this is, I never ever speak, I mean, unless I'm doing a retreat and get to share a weekend with people, but I never speak without sharing about my brother John. And so this is my brother John and I. We grew up here just in rural Oklahoma, like Michelle said, where my husband and I are raising our children today. John and I were born and raised on our great-grandparents' land, and we didn't have neighborhood kids to play with. We didn't have, you know, people to just walk out and other kids to go ride bikes with or things like that. So John and I really just had each other. We were 26 months apart and grew up out here in the country. So I always love to ask people, like, how many rural kids, how many country kids? But I can't see all of you. I can see just a few of you, but I'm sure some of you know what that's like growing up out. Anyway, when I was 7, I had turned 7 on March 23rd, which is Michelle's little girl's birthday. It's just so neat that we had that connection. But I was born on March 23rd of 81. But my brother was 2 years older than me, 26 months older than me. So when I was 7 and John was 9, we decided to go visit some friends after school one day. And I never share this story without it being hard. And I like really try to reiterate to people that, you know, we read stories and we may even see movies of powerful stories, but when it comes down to it, like that was real life for somebody. So no matter how moving it is for us, like somebody had to walk that. And so for me, even telling a story of something that happened now 31 years ago, it is just so hard because it was real life. So John and I got on our motorcycles one day after school and we went to visit some friends and made it there fine. we were always allowed to ride our motorcycle, but we were supposed to ride it on the family land that we had. So we grew up on 160 acres. We had plenty of room, you know, out in the country to ride on, but we decided that we wanted to go visit these friends of ours. And so that was a big deal to us, going to play with school friends after school. So John dropped me off at my friend's house. He drove down a few doors and played, you know, like showed off his motorcycle and played with his friends. And then he came back to get me. And when we came back, there were people coming home from work, just kind of normal traffic that wasn't typical for country living. And so we pulled out on the dirt road behind a truck, and there was a lot of dust. And I just remember John, you know, swerving to the left and the right and the left and the right, and the dust, we didn't have on goggles. And so the dust was just burning our eyes. And I laid my head against my left cheek against John's back. And I just kind of, you know, curled up trying to shield myself from that dust. And our last swerve to the left, we were met with an oncoming truck. And so the gas cap came off of the motorcycle, a fire ignited. And I have, you know, memories of being pulled out of the fire. I remember, you know, seeing the blur in the flame. And then I remember being at the hospital and just asking where John was. I just kept saying, you know, anytime that I could talk, I was just asking where he was. And they were, you know, telling me that he was there, he was in the next room, you know, beside me. And then later people were telling me that he got better and went home. And still now, 31 years later, the hardest part for me has been that John was actually killed on impact on that accident. So, and that's real life. So my kids only know, you know, my brother through stories that I share of him, but I get to share, as I share my journey and his story of overcoming, I get to share about his life, and he's very much a part of my life. And I feel like even through my book, I have a friend that I have known for 10 years. And she said, Heather, I've heard you share so many stories about John, but I feel like through your book, I finally got to know him. And he was a lot to know. He definitely in 9 years left a mark. And so I'm blessed that I get to carry on and share our story and let it inspire other people, because I'm not the only one who has faced loss, and I'm not the only one who has faced a really painful place. But a third-degree burn injury over 87% of my body has left me with scars over 87% of my body. And when people see me, they know that something happened. And so I think that a lot of us go through places and we carry it so well. We are such overcomers, but we might not have the physical evidence that something happened. But for me, I have the opportunity to share that story, because when people see me, they see that something obviously happened. So I'm just going to share a couple pictures with you. So this was the very first time that I was able to stand up. So this was June the 8th of 1988. The accident happened on April the 27th of 1988. And so the doctors had given me, originally had given me 140% chance of dying, because they calculated my burn injury that was 87%, that was mostly third-degree burn, along with I had a total transection to my descending thoracic aorta. So your main artery in your heart, it was just like sliced. And so I should have never made it to the hospital, but God had other plans for my life. And it wasn't, you know, for me to get glory, but for him to be able to use the story to connect with other people. And so for him to receive glory for that. So truly, I pray I steward it well. I pray I steward this story well. But this was my very first time standing up. You can see that, you know, I had some of my hair that had burned, but they went ahead and shaved my head and took skin grafts from over my head. And a lot of betadine. And so this was my physical therapist. Her name was Pam, and I just like hated her with a passion because she was hurting me this day. So I tell my kids, I'm like, you know what, sometimes we have to do things that don't feel good, but they're for our benefit. And I knew this day, as much as I just wanted to be mad at her, I knew what she was doing for me this day would give me the biggest benefit and hope of possibly being able to walk again, because they didn't think that I would ever be able to walk again. I had extensive nerve damage, and my, I was burned down into muscle tissue. So it didn't look very promising. But we had some pretty bulldog people in our family, let me tell you, and major prayer warriors. And I'm able to share and unpack that more in the book. But for sure, you can just imagine it was quite a journey. And so then one of the things that I wanted to share with you all, that I took this, I'm always hesitant to share this picture, but I took this picture in October of 2016. We went to Hawaii, and we were able to just, enjoy a family vacation. And we had been once before, and we had a photographer that we reconnected with while we were there. And so he had taken family pictures for us before, and he was going to again. And I said, hey, I have to tell you my story. I mean, like, we don't know each other, but I said, I need to tell you my story. And I have this vision to take this picture. And I kind of hated it. Like, have y'all ever known that you're supposed to do something and you just think, oh, I just wished I didn't have to do that. I wished I would have never even thought about it, because now I'm responsible for what I feel like has been placed inside of my heart and my mind. And so I went ahead and took this picture, and I just don't ever like being in a swimsuit in front of people, because people stare. But I love the water. The beach is like my favorite place in the world. It's so peaceful. But my kids are old enough now that they know, people stare, people look, they know that something happened. And, sometimes you just want to like go enjoy the beach. You don't want to like, share. And people don't ask, they just stare, and it's just awkward. And so of all the things for me to put on a swimsuit and like have this picture taken, but I felt like it was so important, because there are things in our life that we cannot change. There are things that were terrible when they happened, that were unfair, that we didn't deserve, and they're going to be terrible forever. But God can still use it for good. And so I wanted this to be a picture of overcoming and victory and triumph, to say, hey, you might not be able to change it. For me, there are physical scars, and there will be until, forever. I mean, until I get to go to heaven and get a new body. But there is still goodness. There is such goodness in my life. But we've pressed forward for that. And so I wanted that to be an illustration of what God can do in other people's lives when they're really seeking past the pain of what they have to deal with in their circumstance. And so, like Michelle mentioned, today I'm a NICU nurse. Well, I have been since I graduated from nursing in 2012, and I went to work straight into the NICU. I write about it in the book. 2 of my 4 children were NICU babies. And so that really is just a place for me to be able to, do for other people's children and babies what I really wanted to be able to do for mine. So anyway, long journey here, right? And I know that we're going to take some time to take questions. So I really hope that you guys, and you'll have to bear with me as I'm, navigating through how we're going to do that. But I wanted to share much of my book, and my whole life is founded in the Word of God. I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for the hope and the peace and the encouragement that I knew that the cross provided to me, that Jesus provided through his sacrifice on the cross. So I thought, wow, there's so many things that I would love to share with them. But I thought if there's one scripture that I could share for you all who are doing, work, and you face challenges and you face this. My dad was in sales. And so there was this always and he was really great. My people would say, Mike, you could sell a refrigerator to an Eskimo. And my dad was like, why would I do that? Like, an Eskimo wouldn't need a refrigerator. And I only sell things that people need. So that people meant it as a compliment, but he really was so great at sales. But he would meet a quota, and then it was like, then he had to like strive for the next level. And so I know personally, growing up and knowing what it is like to like meet that goal, and then, okay, that's not enough, and I need to meet this goal, and okay, that's not enough. And I think and I know that we have men as well. And I know from my husband, I know that men go through this and men deal with this. I think women are just more open about it. But the places that we have to face to continue to grow and develop, the places that we have to face to continue to achieve that next level. And that next level might not happen in the timing that we have set in our heads, but we have to have goals to continue moving forward. We have to have goals to continue moving forward. But the word says that God orders our footsteps. And so we have to know that as we're moving, as we're putting forth our best effort, that he is going to bring things together in the right timing, and that it's not going to be just for us to feel successful. It's not just for us to feel like we're so fabulous, but it's going to be for the benefit of other people. And so I thought, golly, here we're talking about like our mindset. And so I wanted to share, if I could share like one scripture, one bit of the word of God with you that I think is so powerful, is from Proverbs 12:14, that says, from the fruit of their lips, people are filled. What does it say? With good things, and the work of their hands will bring them a reward. And so that is coming from it. So that all comes back to what we say. Like, what are we speaking out over the things that we do? What are we speaking out over our children? What are we speaking out over our spouses? What are we speaking out over our team? My team may look different. I have a team in the NICU, and sometimes I think, am I everything that I need to be for them? Because I'm there. I'm there here and there. I work about 1 day a week, and then I pick up extra shifts, and I think, am I really a benefit to the people I work with? But it's all about, it really is it's not all about us. And I guess that's where I'm going with this, is that sometimes we just want to feel like we're rocking it, and that just doesn't happen. And so for us to keep moving forward, we have to really focus on what words we're speaking, and we have to look at those around us, because we're not always going to feel like we're rocking it. So today I had this conversation with my daughter. I'm going to look at our time, because y'all, there's just so many good things to share. And when we talk about mindset, I just feel like that is such a relevant topic for all of us, but for sure something that we speak about a lot in our house. So today, my daughter, we spend Mondays together, and we were talking about this, how to deal with confrontation. And I said, really, for me, I just kind of think that the absence of difficulty produces a good day. Like, the absence of difficulty equals a good day. So if like everybody is happy, nobody's arguing, the laundry is done, the bills are paid, there's enough money, all the ideal things, I'm like, it is a good day. But that's not really where growth takes place. Growth does not take place when everything is just hunky-dory, right? Growth takes place in those areas of challenge. And we don't really want to think about that, but it does. And so she and I were talking about that. I said, an athlete has to continue to challenge themselves physically to be able to continue gaining strength and endurance. They have to keep changing it up. You can't just do the same workout and continue to grow in your athletic ability. You have to keep shaking it up and changing things. And so really, to think that the challenges that come to us and the problems that come to us are presented to grow us and to develop us more into what we need to be. So I just want you to think on that really a good day is not the absence of difficulty. It really, we need to look at what a bad day is producing and developing in us. And so it can be a bad day, or it can be a tragic event. It can be something that is going to change your life forever, but it's really all about how we define it and how we're going to move forward from that. And then I also wanted to share with you too, that being an overcomer is not a characteristic some people are given and some people aren't. And, so a lot of people are so generous with their encouragement to me. I think because I'm so open. I never really had the opportunity to live phony, because I look damaged. My whole body is scarred. So I look, like something happened and that something's wrong. And I just knew that if people looked at me, I wanted them to see something good. If my scars were going to capture their attention, when they really got to know me, I wanted them to see something good. I wanted them to be drawn to something good. And that then they wouldn't even think about my scars, but they would just think about what God has placed inside of me. So a lot of people are very generous with their compliments, because people are kind and they say like, oh, you're so brave, you're such an overcomer. But I really don't believe that that's just given to some people and it's not given to others. I don't think that. So I jotted this down. Being an overcomer is seriously, because I love to use that word seriously. I feel like it gets my kids' attention. But being an overcomer is seriously, at its most basic level, it's a way of thinking. Being an overcomer is a mindset. If we can focus on what we can do, we won't allow the things that we can't control to control us. And I'm just going to tell you, my pastor had thrown that out there a couple of months ago, and that has been on repeat for Heather Meadows. But it is all about, because he says, don't let what you can't control you. And so I'm like, why? Why do we let things that we can't control us? Well, it really comes down to our focus. What are we focusing on? So let me say, we have been through a hard season in the Meadows home, as far as our family and different things that we face, because, I feel like you get out of one season, you build up endurance, you gain what you need. And then, things may be great for a little bit, but then here you go, because you're like an athlete in training, always growing and developing. And so things have been hard here, over the last really like 4 years. But anyway, that's for another book, y'all. But I love it, because if I was going to allow the things that go on with my kids, or the things that go on, with my kids, I would go crazy. I would just, if I allowed that to be my focus, and let me say, it can be really, really hard. But that's when I have to go back to the Word of God. I have to shift my focus off of my circumstance, off of what's going on, off of what I can't control. And I shift my focus back to truth. And so I always pray that we're walking in truth, and that we're walking in what God has for us, and that we're gaining and developing into significant people, not just surface people, not just people who have great social media feeds, but like significant people who really contribute something of value to those around us. And I know that comes from the hard places. It really does. As much as I don't want to say that, it does. So anyway, remember that being an overcomer is all about, your mindset, and that those places of difficulty are producing something of lasting value, that your good days can actually be tucked into those hard places. And that your mindset is completely influenced by what you listen to, what you're reading, what you're repeating, and the people that you're walking with. So always surround yourself with strong people that speak truth, and that won't just tickle your ear, but really challenge you, and those people that will support you and love you and comfort you, and cheer you on to be your best. Because I could totally get off on a whole comparison talk, but I'm not even going to get off on a comparison talk there. But that is kind of what we can tend to do, is we measure ourselves compared to what somebody else is doing. But God is so creative that he has creative plans for, so-and-so on your team, and he has different creative plans and if he can work all things together for good, he's gonna do that. And he can do it in such a creative way that it may not look like, step 1, 2, and 3 of what somebody else did. So don't allow your fear of failure or your challenges or your hardships to keep you from moving forward, because there's some really great things that are in store for you. I believe that for every person on this planet. I completely believe that for every person on this planet. So I wanted to share with you all, this is my family. This is my husband, Brandon, who we're going to be married 20 years in June. And he is he's my favorite. I mean, he's just great. He's not perfect, but he's just my favorite. And then we got married at 18. Crazy kids, crazy. Anyway, this is our daughter, Brooklyn, who just turned 18 on March the 4th. And then my son, or our son, he's Brandon's son too. We share them all. Jaron is 15. He's like 6'1" now. He's grown just since this picture was taken. And then Caden is going to be 13 in August, and Gavin is going to be 10 in July. And we are on our 13-day countdown to Disney, because we're crazy Disney people. I should have shared that picture. But anyway, and then, of course, here is my book. And I'm so grateful that Michelle is going to give a book away tonight, because I know, without a doubt, not because I wrote it, but because it was Spirit-led, I know that there is something in it for every single reader. I know that because there's so many things that I was like, Lord, I am not writing about that. I'm not writing about that. And then there I would go writing about that, because I just knew that God had some people, specific people, that he wanted me to share some things I never thought I would share about. But I wanted to tell you all that, and I jotted this down. So we did a $5 coupon. I know Michelle's giving a book away. I'm so excited. But we did a $5 coupon on our website. So if you go to heathermeadows.com, the book is available on Amazon, but if you buy it through heathermeadows.com and enter Plant Strong, all one word, I know, woo, for your discount code, then you'll get $5 off your order. So I hope that you all do that. And I sign and pray over every single one of my books that I send out from us. So I hope that you all would want to buy through heathermeadows.com. But if not, hey, share with your friends. It's on Amazon too. And I do believe that there's a message. So Michelle, I don't know what to do now, but I don't know how we take questions and stuff.
So we can take questions. There's a chat function where people can type in their questions, or they can actually unmute themselves and just ask it with their voice.
Oh, so we can talk.
Yeah.
I love that.
So let's open it up. Well, depending on time, but we'll let 2 or 3 people ask a question for Heather. And if we don't have enough, I have one. So does anyone have a question for Heather? Now is your chance. It can be about her journey. Let's see here. We got a chat. Caitlin says, thank you for sharing your story.
Aww.
Anyone have a question?
Oh, y'all hear Ruby Sue. She's getting excited.
I have a question for you. Well,
yeah.
People think. One of the things that impacted me in your book was when you talked about whenever you were in the hospital getting the skin grafts and through that really difficult first couple of months of the healing process. You said that, basically you said something to the effect of people kept telling you were brave.
Yes.
And how that was really hard to believe in the moment because it was so painful, but how over time, you started to believe it. And, that's, a piece of the puzzle that helped get you through. So can you share just a minute on that?
Absolutely. Well, I actually marked that in my book, Michelle, because I knew that, that was the part that really stuck out to you. And so, I said in that chapter or in that paragraph, I said I wasn't brave at all. I was terrified. the moments were horrific and so were the memories. But when something is continually spoken into the spirit, the message begins soaking into the heart until the mind starts believing it just might be true. And for me, I wanted so deeply to be what everyone wanted me to be. And I, I did have this desire to make the people around me proud, even my nurses who I was just starting to form, a relationship with. And then of course, and ended up with this incredible bond with so many of them. But I wanted to please them. I wanted to be what they wanted me to be. But I'm pretty sure that they knew that I was absolutely terrified. I know that when they looked at me, that they could see so much that I couldn't even process, but they just kept telling me what I needed to hear. And I think that that is so powerful, because we need to surround ourselves with people who say, you're strong, like you're going to get through this. Even if we are so weak, we have nothing left to give. That's so real life for people. So as we surround ourselves with people who tell us and speak truth into us and point out what is inside of us, maybe something we're not feeling, but that is truly there, it will start to come out. The influence of our words are so powerful on other people. And so I wanted to write about that.
Yeah. Well, it definitely impacted me. And I already knew that was true, but it kind of is like when you're learning something and you're learning about the power of your mindset and your words, and then having your words like confirm that, it was just really cool for me as a reader.
I love that.
Okay. Anyone else have questions for Heather?
I have a question.
Sure.
I would just like to know if there's anything right now that you're reading, anything like that's inspiring you that you found that you're reading.
Oh, I love that. Well, so I actually just did a podcast interview last week, and the hostess asked me the same question. And I was like, well, I don't even know that you can see it, but I have a pile of books. So I feel like Brandon and I have a problem focusing just on one book. So we're doing, and it's not a new book at all, but we've been doing the Boundaries book for our small group class. And that there's boundaries for kids, boundaries for marriage, boundaries for teens, and then there's just the basic boundaries. And so we've been doing that, and that has been such a great book. Such a great book. So you guys have maybe already read it, because I think it's been out like 20 years. But wonderful book. And then also Brandon and I loved John Maxwell. He wrote one that we just read of his was Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. Mm-hmm. Jot that one down, because I think in our culture today of the ability to communicate, we're constantly communicating with one another, especially through social media channels. But the bigger picture, for me as a speaker, of course, my purpose is to connect with people. But that should be our intention, whether it's on social media, or whether we're walking into our church. Sometimes we just walk like straight to our spot that we always sit, and we don't really make intention to connect with people. And so I just felt like it was such a powerful book. So Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. My kids are about to get busted because they are coming in and being loud. And then what is another one? I have another one, but they've distracted me. So anyway, there's two right there, but we do have another one that we're reading, and I can't remember what it is. That's so terrible. But anyway, there's a couple.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that gift, and just for giving us your time tonight, and for gifting us your story. That was like not even the tip of the iceberg. 30 minutes cannot do it justice. So definitely get the book. And speaking of the book, we're going to do the giveaway now. So I had one of my teammates, Casey, write down everyone who is on the call tonight. And I'm going to pick a random number. So Casey,
20 numbers.
Huh?
20 numbers.
Okay. Let's see here. We're gonna do. Okay. 4.
Oh, she's sitting right next to me.
Larry?
Yeah.
Yay!
It wasn't rigged, I promise.
Both get to read it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'll send it to Casey's house. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad. You're going to love it. It's amazing. But thank you guys. And go to her website, heathermeadows.com. Get the $5 coupon code, Plant Strong. Make sure you enter that and share the love. Let people know about this amazing book and about Heather's story, because, you know, just like she blessed us tonight, paying it forward is truly the best gift. So thank you, Heather, for being on.
Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to unmute everyone so they can say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
An awesome night.
It was a little voice. Aw.
All right. Well, thanks. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Heather. Go send
Bye,
some
guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Michelle, hey, this is Heidi. I was the phone number that was on. I was listening on in my
Oh,
car.
you won our other contest.
I was on.
Oh,
Thanks for the gift card.
yay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Bye, guys. Have a great night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.
March 4th.